Hello.
Hey Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
Good man, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Oh,
So
awesome. Oh,
do
sorry.
you need my video and audio or you got it all?
I just need audio. If that's all I need.
Okay, cool. Sounds good to me.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to do it and talk about some amazing music that's going on here. I mean, I really love what you guys are doing here, and next week with this album coming out, I mean, I think you're going to be winning over a lot of fans with what you guys are doing, because I love this blend of what you're doing when it comes to this heavy side of music, the modern sound, and some great pop elements in there too. I mean, it just makes for a really cool transition of sound that you guys are doing.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, it's obviously working out, I guess. Yeah, we've always all of our roots have always been like the heavier type of music, heavy metal and stuff, but we've always all been into the lighter music as well. So we, want to have both elements in our music so that we can not only entertain a heavy metal crowd, but we can entertain just music lovers, people that love good melodies, they love good song structures, they love a good vibe. So we just try to create a good vibe with each song that we write.
And that's just so important too. And it goes to show, it doesn't matter how heavy a song is, it doesn't matter how catchy a riff is. A good song is a good song. And when you write good songs, they can appeal to so many people.
Yeah. That's the thing, like a lot of songwriters, we know that they focus too much on each individual part or each riff or each guitar lead, and at the end of the day, yes, all of that matters, but if the whole 3 minute or 4 minute or 5 minute or 17-minute song isn't just grabbing you and pulling you in and making you want to keep listening, then you haven't done your job right.
And I totally see that going on here. I mean, I think Kingdom is such a great way to be able to start off the album for that reason alone. I mean, it's got those great, cool modern elements to it, and then all of a sudden when it comes in with that riff and it's just so crushing, I mean, it just fits together so well, and it shows that you guys really pay attention to what riffs work and making the songs the best that you possibly can be.
Yeah, that's actually one of the band's personal favorite songs that we have.
And I can definitely hear that too, and I was really happy to see that that was released as a single as well too, and seeing some great promotion behind that. And yeah, I think it's a really great way to be able to represent the band without giving everything away of what you guys are about, but I think it's a good, solid, great single to show off what you guys can do.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah.
So, with that in mind, I mean, what was it like to finally be able to sit down and start working on a full LP?
Well, it wasn't so much structured like that. Like, the plan was always to eventually work up to a full album, but it wasn't like what a lot of, like, classic bands do. They go into the studio and write it all at once. It was more so spaced out over the course of months. Here's a new song, here's another new song, here's another new song. And then once all the demos were done, then we did the whole classic approach where we all go into the studio and track everything and get the album ready. So it wasn't written all at once. It was written over a few months, which is cool because I think you can sort of like hear like these three songs must have been written together, and then these three songs must have been written around the same time. If you listen to the album when it comes out, you can definitely hear the different vibes throughout the album, and it sort of has a nice flow to it, has dynamics to it.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially when you're working on a full album. I mean, being able to have that ebb and flow, those peaks and valleys, the ups and downs in the music, I mean, it makes listening to a full album so much more exciting when you have all of that combined. And yeah, I mean, when you think about it and you think about how some songs do sound like they were kind of written around the same time, and being able to work together, writing songs over the course of months, I think that really worked out in your guys' favor, because it's just killer from start to finish when it comes out that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, moving forward though, we want to take a different approach. We find that taking, in today's day and age, like it's not the whole process of dropping an album and then waiting a year or two, then dropping another album. People are impatient and they want more and they want more all the time. So moving forward after this album, we're going to be dropping singles more frequently, like every 2 months or every 3 months. And then that way we'll keep our fans engaged and we'll keep growing slowly but surely. And I feel like that's a better approach. And then maybe towards like the end of like the 9 months or the 10 months, where we're dropping singles, we'll package them all up into an album with some new singles on that album as well. So that's the approach we want to take moving forward. And I've noticed like a lot of other bands are starting to head in that approach, in that direction as well.
Yeah, and that is actually a really smart way to do it, and that way people never forget that you guys are around that way, because there's always something to look forward to within the span of a couple months. There's at least going to be another song or two to be able to look forward to. I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but, and, you know, just thinking about that as well, too, I mean, the fact that you guys are able to adapt to those kind of situations where you don't feel like you're just stuck having to write an EP or an LP or just writing one song. I mean, you know, you're just writing and putting out what feels right, and that is so cool to be able to do that, and, you know, just show that the band is capable of so many different ways of being able to release music.
For sure. Yeah, keeping people engaged more frequently is definitely a better way to attack the market, in my eyes.
Yeah, it's definitely a smart way to do it, and you know what's great about that as well too. I mean, with promoting this album is like seeing how many of the songs are getting such like great reactions online too. I mean, whether it's the lyric videos or the full-on videos, you know, it's great to be able to see like all the positive things that are going on within the band, because you guys deserve that too, and you know, just the quality of these songs. And I can only imagine that the band's only going to keep getting stronger with what you guys are capable of doing right now.
Yeah, well, that's what we're hoping for. We believe that if a band or any kind of business in any industry keeps pushing out quality content and they don't stop, they're only going to grow. There's no down, it's only up.
So when you had that in mind, I mean, obviously with being able to like go forward after this album and, you know, having more of that approach of being able to release songs more within months and things like that. I mean, how much time do you really put into each song before you know it's the way that you want it to be going forward?
Well, I think every song's a little differently. A lot of our songs start with a demo from our vocalist, Zach. And I've talked to him before, and there's been songs that he's like, dude, I spent 2 days on this song, and it's perfect, it's done, and it's amazing, and they're some of our best songs. And then there's songs that he'll spend a month on, and they're equally as good, or like to each their own, right? But it's art, so there's no right and wrong way to do it. There's no right timeline. It's whatever works for that song. And sometimes as a writer, the ideas just don't stop coming to you and you can just keep writing. And then other times it's like a lot more of a slow process. So it depends on like where you're at that time period, what's going on in your life, if the ideas are flowing constantly or if you have writer's block or not. That all takes place. But some of the best songs we've written have been in like a day or two.
It's amazing how that works, isn't it? I mean, sometimes just like a riff that just comes out of nowhere might be your favorite riff on an entire release, and it just comes out of nowhere, or it just comes in the span of a couple days rather than something that you've been grinding on for months and months on end. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, this album was cool too, because after we were done the whole writing and recording process, we had Nolly Get Good from Periphery to mix it, and that really brought the sonic element of the album to life way more. It sounds huge, and we're so stoked to have him and his name behind this album.
Oh, absolutely, and I was going to bring that up too. I mean, especially with what Nolly is capable of doing when it comes to drum sounds. I mean, the fact that he was able to take you and make you stand out so much on the album, no matter if you're playing something complicated or playing something straight ahead, four on the floor. I mean, it just sounds so crushing all those ways, and Nolly has such a great way to be able to do that.
Yeah, see, every album I've listened that Nolly's done, everything sounds great, but as a drummer, I pay close attention to the drums, as you could imagine, and I've always noticed that his drum mixes, they always just slap harder than anyone else's, and they're boomy and full, and they just crack right through the mix, and it's awesome. Whether it's like a quiet part or a loud part, it's the dynamics, whatever, it's always amazing drum mix.
Oh, absolutely, and you know, so much of that as well. I mean, as great of a job as Nolly did with this album, I mean, it comes down to your playing as well, too. And, you know, it's just, I really love the fact that you have the same kind of setup that I do as well. I mean, being a Pearl drummer, using Sabian cymbals and, you know, just getting those great sounds and grooves off of what you're doing. I mean, it shows a lot of what you're able to do, and Nolly's able to make that shine even more.
Yeah. Hopefully, Sabian's listening to this too, and they can throw in a little endorsement deal too, eh?
Oh, absolutely. I think they are the top cymbal company out there,
Oh,
and
they're my favorite, man. Yeah, they're my favorite. They have the best sounds for sure. I also like Meinl a lot too.
yeah,
Meinl's great.
yeah. I've only gotten to mess around with Meinl a little bit. So I do have a 6-inch bell that I use, but I haven't been able to explore too much with Meinl. But every time I've heard Meinl, they make great sounds.
Yeah, I listened to a drummer, Luke Holland, and his drum mix on all his drum videos on YouTube are amazing, and a lot of that has to do with his Meinl cymbals. They're amazing.
Oh, totally. And again, thinking about that as well too. Being able to have those great Sabian cymbals on there, and Pearl drums as well too. Like, how did it come about being able to go with Pearl for what you wanted to use for recording and playing?
Well, I didn't really get into drumming seriously until I had met Mike Mangini, and he's a big Pearl guy. So I loved Pearl. I loved everything he was using at the time. So that's how I really got into Pearl. I was just, I wanted to be like him. So, and then after that, doing more research, I've gotten into other drum companies like DW is amazing. And Mapex is amazing, but Pearl will forever be my favorite. Like if your dad drives a Ford truck, you're probably gonna love Ford too. But if your dad drives a Dodge Ram, you're probably gonna love Dodge Ram. So for me, it's just like Pearl is that Ford truck to me.
Oh, that totally makes sense, and a great way to look at it as well. So thinking about that as well too, I mean, obviously with getting into drums later on in your musical endeavors, I mean, what was it like for you to decide like what kind of setup you wanted to use, like how many toms and the size of drums and all that?
This is actually funny. So when I first got my Pro Drum kit, it was huge. There was like 4 rack toms, 2 floor toms, 2 kick drums, a million cymbals. It was stupid. And I'm like, what the hell? I was a beginner drummer at the time too. I'm like, what? I can't even use all this if I wanted to. It just looks sick. And then I literally had so many drums, I split it into 2 drum kits and then sold one of them. And I just completely minimalized my kit, so it made sense. And yeah, I don't see the point in using more than you have to, especially for like what we do. Like if we were playing shit like Dream Theater, it would make sense to have more drums and more cymbals and stuff. But for our style of modern metal, you don't need all those little things and gadgets on your drum kit. Like, 2 rack toms, 1 floor tom, 1 kick drum with a double pedal, and your choice of cymbals. That's always my go-to.
Oh, and that totally makes sense too. I mean, especially when you're focusing on that modern stuff. I mean, so much importance is really focused on what you can do matching the bass drums with the guitar and the bass, and having that heavy groove with what you can do on the cymbals and snare. Like, everything else is just like being able to add decoration to that sound. So I mean, as long as you got like a good solid bass drum or 2 bass drums or double pedal, whatever the case is, and an awesome snare, you're able to just combine the rest of those sounds as needed.
Yeah. Some of the best drummers, they play on like a really small kit, and they can make it sound like they have a million drums. Like I've seen some live footage of Matt Halpern on the streets. I don't know what the hell he was doing on the streets playing drums, but he had 1 snare, a floor tom, and a kick drum, and maybe a hi-hat, and he was just ripping them apart. Like, it sounded like he had a whole drum kit. He wasn't limited in any way. And that's another thing from him too that I love talking to him about is he likes to switch up his drum kit from show to show once in a while, just like randomly move things around or take a tom out. Because he says, like, playing the same set every night, playing the same show every night can get a bit repetitive. And if you take things out and move things around, it keeps you, like, on the edge of your seat. And it feels like more live again. It's not so robotic and like you're just going through the motions every night. So I think that's really cool. So I've been doing that too. Right now I have 2 drum kits set up in my basement, and they both have very similar setups, but different at the same time. And I like to go through and play different parts, like the same parts on both kits, because then I'm able to really like be put in any setting with any drum kit, and on the spot just rewrite the drum fills so they work, rewrite what cymbals I'm hitting, so it just works no matter what kind of live situation I'm thrown into. I'm good to go on any drum kit.
Oh, totally. And that's such a great reference of what you did with Matt Halpern. I remember early day Periphery shows. I just saw him with a 3-piece kit. It was just bass drum, drum, floor tom, snare, and then it had hi-hat, like 1 or 2 crashes and a china. That was it. And then now seeing like the evolution of what he can do now and being able to add different kinds of toms and different kinds of setups and simple setups. I mean, it shows like his evolution of his playing, being able to go from minimalist to being able to add more toms into the setup. And I think it's always great to be able to switch up your drum setup, whether it's the whole kit or being able to add or take away something, because the more ideas that you're able to come up with as a drummer, the more that you're going to be able to expand what you can do and play.
Yeah, 100%. That's all part of growing as a musician and a drummer.
Oh, totally. So, thinking about that as well, too, I mean, obviously with drums not being your first instrument to be able to pick up, are you still playing guitar and other instruments or anything like that, or are you just focusing on drums right now?
Mostly just drums. Like, the only time I pick up guitar is once every 3 months when I'm chilling with the band, and I'll just pick up a guitar and play whatever riff I remember. So yeah, I haven't focused on guitar in years, and I really don't have any like desire to. I just love drumming, and when I was playing guitar as a kid, it felt like a chore to me, and then I picked up some drumsticks and it was a hobby and I love doing it. So I'm not gonna go back to those hell chores I used to do playing the guitar.
Oh, totally. And just hearing that, it reminds me of the story of Van Halen, where Eddie and Alex were playing the opposite instruments, where Alex was playing guitar and Eddie was playing drums, and Alex was so sick of playing the guitar and he was so jealous of Eddie being able to play the drums that they switched, and then they became so good at what they do, and it just came from being able to go to a different instrument.
Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff's crazy, and there's like a lot of bands where the opposite has happened, where like the drummer becomes a vocalist, and band members have like switched up a ton. It's crazy how that happens sometimes. Well, even with us, like our lead guitarist who's been with us since the start, Zach, now he's singing more than he is playing guitar. He's our lead vocalist now, and we went through like a few vocalists before him, and then we would always listen to Zach's demos where he's singing and writing the vocals, and we were like, what the hell are we doing? This sounds better than our actual songs in demo form with your vocals. So then we made some changes, and now he's our vocalist. So even with us in Falset, we've done it too.
Oh yeah, and it's a part of that evolution too, because you never know what someone's gonna really be able to offer the band. I mean, the fact that he's able to focus so much on the clean singing now, when you're able to have different people try out for the band, be a part of the band, and try those vocals out. And little did you know, it was coming from within what was really going to make the band the strongest. And it's just so cool to see that.
It's crazy, because if 5 years ago, if you had told us Zach was going to be our vocalist, we would have been like, what? We wouldn't have believed it. But it's the best choice and decision we've ever made.
Yeah, and I think with the original EP, I really loved what you guys did with that. But here with this album, it's just like, it sounds like you guys are in absolute prime form right now, and it's so great that this thing is finally coming out next week, and hopefully sometime soon, hopefully in 2021, when things get back to some kind of normalcy, you guys are able to give this a proper live promotion too, because I just imagine these songs are going to sound so killer in that live setting.
Oh yeah, we have played some of these songs obviously before they were released, because they're not released until next week. When we were touring like a year ago and stuff, just throughout Canada and stuff, we did play some of these new songs live, and they hit hard live. They're really fun live, a lot of fun to play live. Yeah, and with it's funny, what you said, like, it sounds like we're really on point now. It carries on even past this album. We feel like every song we write, it just keeps getting a bit better and a bit better every time. So from the EP to this album, obviously you're going to hear that. And then from this album to the next single and moving on past that, we feel like we're just going to keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger at what we do.
Yeah, and that is so important when it comes to being in a band too. I mean, just not only being able to come up with new ideas and try new ideas, but wanting to try those ideas and knowing to be able to like stretch the boundaries of what you guys do. Like, how far do you want to go in one direction versus another, or trying to maintain that core sound of what the band is about, and just being able to experiment. I mean, when you're able to do that, when you're able to get together and jam out those ideas or send files styles or whatever the case is, it's so important to be able to see what you can really bring to the table and what you can really make the band be.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, totally. And, again, just like listening to all of this, I mean, I just really love what you guys are doing here. And, the fact that some of these songs are seasoned in that live setting as well, too. So you know that how they're going to go over and, being even more confident with the songs now because they're in studio form and being able to work on them so much more. And, it's going to be really exciting to see what you guys are going to be doing after this release too, with releasing singles every couple months and releasing new songs, because I can't wait to see where you guys have gone from this album.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, man. We've already dropped 3 singles and a cover off this album, and so far it's been a really good response from everyone. For the most part, there has been some people that have been saying stuff like pick a genre, you guys are changing it up too much from each single, but I don't agree with that at all. As a musician and as we grow as musicians, we're happy to be diverse. I think that, that's something you should be proud of. Bands that write the same song over and over and over again, I don't think that's better than being a diverse band in any way. So we pride ourselves in being able to write a light, catchy song and then writing a heavy ass song right after that. We pride ourselves in that. So I think moving forward too, you're going to see a lot more of that diversity in us, and we'll always keep both elements to us: our energetic sound, our heavy sound, and our melodic sound. That's what makes Falset.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny that people say things like that, like picking a genre. To me, when I listen to this album, I mean, it sounds like a full mission statement that we do have this modern sound, we do have popular sounds, we do have this aggressive side, a little bit of progressive moments that are going on there. I mean, you guys are showing a showcase of what you guys are capable of doing, and to me, like being able to enjoy such a diverse music, like I really love the fact that you guys take that pride of being able to have the core sound that you guys have, but being able to expand those boundaries. And I think that just makes for better musicianship, and it makes the band grow. And I think that's so much more exciting to listen to rather than listening to a band who's going to put out the same album every couple years.
Yeah, I completely agree with you 100%. The bands out there and the artists out there that can write different stylistic songs and continue to grow as a musician and change what they're doing. I've always loved that. And some of my favorite artists have always done that.
Yeah. And, again, it's so great to see that too. I mean, seeing like the evolution of the band itself. I mean, whether you're focusing on going from guitars to more clean vocals or going from guitar to playing drums like yourself, and, just expanding who you are as people and musicians and working towards that goal of making Falset the best that it possibly can be. And if this is what you guys are doing for that first LP and then everything that's going forward, it's only going to get better from here on out.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for sure. And I appreciate that, Josh. Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. So I did have to ask this. I'm sure a lot of people have asked you this already, but I'm just so curious about it. Like, when you were going into this and starting to play drums and starting to really get things going with Falset, like, did your dad give you any advice about what it was like to be in a band or anything to look forward to coming up in a band?
Yeah, he said it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and get ready for a crazy time. So growing up with him being my dad, I was out on the road a lot, so I got to see it firsthand. And some people, I think they want to be rock and rollers and rock stars and stuff without knowing what they're getting into, and then they hate it when they do it because you're away from home a lot. You're, on tour. You're getting sick all the time. You're not always in the best situation. But doing it firsthand as a kid, I knew undoubtedly that this is what I want to do with my life. So I was the kid, in kindergarten when you would write down, like, what do you want to do when you're older? I'd say, I want to be a rock star. And that's never changed for me. I've always wanted to be a musician, and I wanted to do this professionally since I was a young kid. My dad definitely helped me out a lot. Just like he was a good father because he wouldn't lie to me, and I wouldn't be the kid that would come home with a picture I painted and he'd say, wow, that's the best picture ever. Or I wouldn't come home and play a guitar riff to him and be like, wow, that's the best guitar riff I've ever heard. He would always be honest with me and keep me grounded and say, like, good job, Chance, but you need to improve here, you need to work on this here. And I really got to thank him for that because it's made me be self-aware and honest with who I am as a musician, and always aim to be better at what I'm doing. And achieve higher things and better things.
Oh, for sure. And, obviously having someone like your dad being able to have so much experience in playing music and so many different kinds of instruments that he's been around, it's just the fact that he's able to give that knowledge to you and he's willing to help you out, wanting you to be able to explore your artistic side of you. And, just being able to show that off in falset, now going into drums and being able to really see how far this band is going to go. I mean, the fact that you do have so many good people in your corner that can believe in what you're doing and not lying to you about it, but being honest about it, about where you can improve and wanting to see you improve. I think that's such an important thing to see, and it's so cool that you have that.
Yeah, if all the people in our corner were telling us since day one we're perfect already, we wouldn't be where we're at now. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it almost would feel like a lie to yourself too, because even if you're like making mistakes on the on a riff or a drum pattern or something like that, and people are telling you, "Oh, it's perfect. You don't need to change a thing." I mean, it's eventually going to come to your head that this is as far as you need to go in a band, and you don't have to progress further. But just being able to have those people say, "Well, you can work on this, you can work on that," and yeah, again, looking from the EP to this album and everything to look forward to in the future, and just seeing where you guys are going with this evolution. Like I said before, it's only going to get better from here on out, and having people behind you like that is only going to help with that.
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of help to us, and we appreciate all the things that my dad has done for us and all the introductions he's made for us. It's been a lot of help, and we're very grateful to be in the position we're in.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm really glad to see that as well too, because I can't say it enough. I really love what you guys do here, and I only think it's going to get better from here on out. And when people are eventually able to check out this album with We Follow or Lead the Way, I think they're going to be able to see what you guys are capable of and everything to look forward to in the future. And it's been awesome talking to you about all of it. I mean, about like your setups, how the band started, everything to look forward to in the future. It was great to be able to talk to you about all of it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Josh. It's been an honor talking to you, and I can't thank you enough, man.
Oh, not a problem. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
Well, I'd just like to thank you for having me on, and to anyone listening to this, Falset, we work hard at what we do, so if you could give us the time of day and check us out and give us a like and a follow, that would mean a lot to us.
Oh, perfect. Great note to end on. And again, thanks again for taking the time to do this interview. It was awesome to be able to talk to you. I should hopefully have this interview available tomorrow to be able to check out on YouTube. And then next week, I'll be featuring you guys on my radio show with a single or two off the album in promotion.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that, man. You should add me on Facebook and we can talk more about everything on there.
Oh, sure thing. I'll do that as soon as I wrap things up here.
Cool. Yeah, I'll find your request on there and I'll add you back.
Oh, awesome. I'll be looking forward to that. And yeah, again, one last time, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. It was awesome to be able to talk to you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Likewise, man. Thanks a lot, Josh.
Oh, not a problem. Bye.